Hi guys, it was Man 500 here, back out in the yard, getting ready to do a little bit of archery. This is a video that I've been wanting to do for a little bit. Not really a requested video, but it's definitely one that's been on my hit list. And we're just going to talk about archery in general with a compound bow. That's important to remember. This isn't recurve, this is compound bow archery, so it's a little bit different than the traditional bow and arrow that you'll find. So, just going to tell you a couple things about shooting your bow, a couple things about archery maintenance, some things that you should be always doing, also some different parts of the bow. I'm fairly new at this, I'm pretty much a beginner, so I don't know a whole lot. Some of the details I might, miss a little bit. If I do, I apologize ahead of time because I probably will miss something and so forth. So just leave a comment, just let me know, and I'll try and include it. This is the bear bow that you see me shoot all the time. This is the Truth too. Bear come out with a really good load of bows this year, and I really like this one. It's got a smooth draw. It's not super fast, but it shoots really nice, and it's got a I think I said in other videos that this is the bear sight, but it's not. That's actually just a bear sticker on there. This is actually a PSE sight, and I really like this. The fiber optics there are really good. And it's well suited for this bow, so it's really nice. I might update it to a single pin. The one thing about these pin sights that I don't like is that you can't get precise, right on accurate. You kind of have to judge it a little bit. So let's say I was shooting 25 yards. Here's my 20-yard pin. My 20-yard pin is up top there, 30 yards, 40 yards, 50 yards. So if I wanted to shoot 25 yards, I'd have to just guess at the distance in between those two pins. And you're not going to be super accurate with that because you are guessing. That's really all that's on my bow that I can tell you. I'll get into some other stuff here later in the video. When shooting your bow, there's a couple things that I tell people. First of all, make sure that your arrow is clearing nice and nice. So what that means is pretty much just make sure it's going to clear your string and everything. See there, just make sure that it's going to clear that portion of your string. I'm talking about your fletchings on your arrow. Just make sure that they're going to clear that, because if not, you could be bumping it and that could reduce your accuracy. Also get your bow tuned as well, so make sure that your rest is in line, everything's in line, and that when you draw your bow, that arrow is actually level, and this bow has just been tuned. By somebody who's been in my archery videos, Troy. You've seen him shoot before. So he tuned this for me, and he did some different things with it. Just take it to your local archery shop. Generally, they can tune it and get it really fine-tuned. Also, if you put a new string on it as well, like I have here, this is a new string. This isn't the factory string. If you put a new string on your bow, just sight it in, and make sure that the arrow is tuned on that rest, because a lot of times when they're putting the string on, they will take that off and they will change it around. So make sure that is tuned when you go to shoot. Other than that, generally, with drawing back the bow and whatnot, I might just turn it here. I'm just going to turn it back this way here a little bit. Generally, with drawing your bow, what I like to do is that, especially with grip, this is an issue. Don't grip your bow super tight. So when I go to shoot, I don't want to be gripping that bow really tight. I want to have a loose hand. I don't want it way out like this, but I just want to have it nice and relaxed when I go to draw my bow. Another thing is, this goes with poundage. If you're really struggling and you're way up here and you're drawing your bow like this and you can barely get it back, generally that means you're going to have too much weight, too much poundage on your bow, and you should relax a little bit. A good way to tell if you're drawing too many poundages is if you sit down and you draw your bow, and if you can't draw it, then that means that you generally have too much poundage. So that's about it. Usually I like to take a couple of good breaths, because I've been talking a lot, so I'm kind of out of breath here a little bit. I'm just going to take a couple breaths. So generally just relax, keep your feet, there's no special way to keep your feet shoulder width apart, nice and relaxed, just how you would normally stand. And once again, watch that grip, because what that grip's going to do, if you have it really tight, as soon as you shoot, you're going to be you're going to be torquing your bow a lot. So I just like to have a nice relaxed grip. Once again, if you're drawing way up here and you're really struggling to pull that bow back, then you should lower down your poundage a little bit. Another thing, they tell you this in the international bow course, if you wear glasses, like spectacles or something like that, whatever you want to call them, make sure you wear them when you're shooting. As always, I always have mine on when I'm shooting. You're just going to get better accuracy. Also, the old saying, aim small, miss small, it applies with this very much so. So if you aim at a big target, you're generally going to miss it by a lot. But if you aim at a little tiny spot and you miss by a lot, then it's not going to be that much. So when I draw my bow, I'm just going to show you how I draw it. I set it here like that. Usually I have an open hand. And I draw it back nice and straight. And I come right back to my anchor point. I'm not way up here drawing it. I'm just coming back nice and still. And then generally I'll close my hand. And then I'll go to my anchor point. Another thing that you should do, which is let down. If you feel that you cannot take that shot and that shot you're just not feeling it, let down. Don't just shoot your arrow. This is more competition wise. If you think that you're going to make a bad shot, let down and try it again, catch your breath, and do that. I see a lot of people who do that. Even people who I know who have been shooting for a long time, they draw back their bow and they think they're going to have a bad shot, but they shoot anyways. And generally you're going to have a bad shot. So that's just a little thing to keep in mind. I'm still working on that myself, so that's no big deal. But it is a good habit to get into. What else can I tell you guys? Just make sure your arrow is the right weight. So you don't want something too light, you don't want something too heavy. You want to get that arrow really nice and sighted in. Especially if you're going to a competition shoot. You don't want to go to a competition shoot and start shooting a new arrow that same day. Because generally all arrows will shoot differently. Especially if you're using different materials. Let's say you shoot carbon one day and you shoot aluminum the next. Then they're going to shoot differently. Generally aluminum arrows, we don't shoot them a whole lot of the compounds. Just because if you hit something, they bend really easily. So another thing is anchor point. What anchor point pretty much means is, to all you new bow shooters, is a place where you feel comfortable on your face. So when you draw your bow, just pretend like you're drawing back a bow. Wherever you settle down, so it might be here, might be farther back, like back here, might be right here. Generally, one of the rules is have a touching point on your string. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this around this side. So what this pretty much means is, when I go to draw back my bow, I want to have a touching point on that string. So nice back. So usually I'm right off the middle of my nose, just like that. And that's a touching point. I know every time that I'm going to be down on the middle, right down here on my nose, you see me touch it. That's my point. That's where I'm going to be touching, is right in the middle of my nose. And when I draw, this is just me, you could be completely different, but with a touching point, with the touching point method I call it, with that you know you're going to be accurate, because it's going to be there every time. If you come back to a different spot, let's say on your cheek, let's say I'm frowning or I'm talking or doing something else, and you're on your cheekbone could move as you're talking or moving or doing whatever. Like, you could move that position 10 different times before you actually shoot. With my nose, it's right there all the time. So I know that that's where my anchor point is. So now I'm just going to take a couple shots. Another thing about your release, don't have it cranked up too tight. Just make sure it's nice and loose. It should be tight, but just not super loose. Draw back. Generally, I'll stick my hand right underneath my ear and right off my nose. That's not bad, that's a little high. I'll show you another one. Also, another thing with your arrow guide right there. If you can see that right there, that's where your arrow rests on before you actually, that rest raises. Just make sure that that's plastic. I prefer the plastic ones a lot better because they don't rot. So if you take this hunting in the rain and you have a rubber arrow holder, generally it's not good because it's going to rot out on you unless you really take a lot of time and dry it out, which I forgot to do last time. I was more focused on everything else. So no, I didn't get a deer yet, by the way. Straight back, underneath the ear, right off the end of the nose. That's a good arrow, I think. I think that's right in there. Pretty sure that's pretty close. Also, another thing I like to do is, especially with archery shoots, is to shoot close ranges. Sorry. Shoot close ranges, because a lot of times we'll have a really close target, and that's what sometimes screws people up, because they're not used to shooting at really close ranges. They'll practice back at 30-40 yards, but at these archery shoots they'll throw up a 5-yard target, so just watch out for that as well. Get that zeroed in, know exactly what you're going to do for 5 yards, because sometimes they will throw one in, just to trick people up. So, straight back again, last arrow, underneath the ear, right in the middle of the nose. Perfect. Good arrows. Generally that's all the tips that I have for you guys. Just make sure that you guys are anchoring really well. Like I said, one or more touching point on the string, and that'll be good. Another thing with bow maintenance, this gets to the string part, make sure it's nice and nice and waxed. You should be able just to go along, and just that you should be able to, should be nice and sticky. If you can hear that, but it should be nice and sticky and nice and waxed. That just keeps it from wearing out really fast on you as well. Replace your strings when you need to, guys. Replace your limbs when you need to, and you'll be good to go. And just have fun out there and be safe. Watch out for where you're aiming, and make sure you don't shoot anybody, and be really careful when you're doing it. So, Woodsman 500 here. I know that was a lot to take in. Just a few little archery tips for you. I'm not the all-time expert, but I do know a little bit about consistent shooting, I would think. So, anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for more archery videos. I love these bears. Go buy yourself a bear bow. You won't be disappointed. Stay tuned.